Well, in the first of TRT World's debate series called The Supporters, we'll be speaking to partisan voters from across the U.S. about the issues that are important to them. Joining me now outside Georgetown University's campus in Washington, D.C. is our correspondent, Yola Abdavid. Yolo?
Ali Chan, yes, we're outside. We're in downtown Washington, D.C. actually. We're outside Washington University. And what's important is that there's 25 days until the election. I think most people who have been following this presidential campaign are aware of two main issues, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. But what about the policies that actually engage people with an election? Well, in this election, there have been a number of policy debates. Some of them haven't really been discussed that much. And one of them is what we are going to feature today, which is young people, education, two of the main things you would have thought in any kind of electoral campaign. So here we have two guests with us for this first debate. So Kevin Estes, Hunter Estes, you're a student, you're studying international politics, and Kevin Chavez, you're a lawyer, but you're also president of the Young Democrats here in Washington, D.C. First of all, Kevin, is education being talked about that much, and what do young people make of it?
You know, when it comes to on campus, it's the vast majority of what people are talking about, because this is the real issue. You know, people are scared of how much debt they're going to graduate with, if they're going to be able to find a job that's actually worthy of what they consider being their important major, and just this is actually real life for them. This is the most pertinent, tangible issue they have right now.
So the young people are talking about it in the college. What about those who have graduated, Kevin, and those like yourself now in a full-time employment?
Well, we are talking about education, and a lot of people like me have student debt. So I guess once you graduate, the focus becomes, hey, how do I pay back these loans? How do I find a job that will allow me to live the life I dreamed of living when I enrolled in school? And that's something that we're starting to see the candidates talk about more, but up until now, they really haven't talked about it much.
Well, the giveaway is what you just said. So far, they haven't talked about it so much. Why is that? Why do you think that in this campaign, between the two main candidates, Trump and Clinton, that education hasn't really been hammered out?
Well, I think both of them don't really have any strong plans or any new ideas when it comes to education.
That's quite critical.
Well, I think if they did, that they would be willing to discuss them and make it more of an issue. I do give Donald Trump credit for at least mentioning education sometimes in some of the debates, but in my opinion, and I'm speaking as someone who is supporting Hillary Clinton, she's a little more reactionary when she brings up education.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Hillary Clinton is more reactionary, and Donald Trump is bringing up the issues that he wants to bring up, and that's going to be immigration, that's going to be foreign policy, and education is just at a loss there. And so if he's not putting it on the table, and if Hillary Clinton doesn't have the chance to react to it and kind of build off of it, they're both losing the millennial vote.
Well, we'll get to the two characters later on, but to get back to education, why do you think, and why do your fellow students think that education hasn't really got people talking, especially in terms of policy?
Yeah, I think for a lot of the people in this country, it's just not as important of an issue in their life right now. What people are seeing, they're thinking about jobs, they're thinking about the economy, and the first thing that comes to mind isn't always education. For young people, of course, it's natural. They're just recently out of school, or they're in school currently. But if that's not happening, for the vast majority of people, their foremost thought is this the job at hand.
Now, obviously, your interests lie with the Republicans, but what happens to people with college debt? Kevin's already said that he's still saddled with his college debt. Is that something that you would like to hear both main parties talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we saw it a little bit in the primary. You know, we saw from Bernie Sanders offering certain solutions, and we saw people, really just Marco Rubio, who was offering solutions to college debt, vastly different solutions. And I think that was an important conversation that I was looking forward to having in the general election, and that just didn't play out at all.
It hasn't played out so far. The other thing is how many people, young people, what they call the millennials, people
right,
who have come to adulthood in the last 15 years, are out of work. Now, those unemployment figures are quite high, aren't they?
Right, they are very high, and I think even higher than they were definitely in our parents' generation or even 20 years ago or so. And I know the Obama administration has made some strides. I support the efforts they've taken to allow for income-based repayment plans and for programs that allow graduates to cut their payments significantly, or even offer deferment or deferment programs for entrepreneurs, and also the forgiveness. After 10 years of payments or 15 years of payments, they get to forgive their loans, which has helped. But there's still a lot of work
you're
to be
still
done.
paying, and how long do you reckon you'll be paying your debt?
I'll probably be paying, I'm paying the minimum right now. Sometimes I try to pay a little more, but probably another 15 years or so, 15 to 20 years.
And I think he raised a good point. You know, he talked about some of the loan forgiveness and some of the post-debt, but what's not being raised is how do we stop this debt from actually occurring? We're seeing schools, Georgetown itself just had another tuition hike. Students going into college aren't being offered a tangible vision about what they can actually expect to get from their major. And so you have people going in and they're getting philosophy or Greek degrees and expecting to make hundreds of thousands of dollars coming out of school, but that's just not real life.
So really, you have the age-old problem. If you're not wealthy, then the odds are stacked against you in the United States if you want to have a college degree.
Right, that's a good way of putting it. And actually, Donald Trump on Friday came out with more details regarding his plan, and he seems to now support capped payment amounts similar to Hillary Clinton. And I do give Hillary Clinton credit because she has put more meat on the bones of her proposals sooner and has more of a record than Donald Trump in that area.
I don't want to let you two guys go before talking about Trump and Clinton. Trump now, right, very briefly. Has he been the kind of candidate you would have expected, especially with all these allegations and another allegation today on Friday about the allegation of a sexual being predatory? What does that do for the Republican Party?
I think it hurts the vision, you know. I don't think Donald Trump really represents the heart of Republican principles or the ideas that we're built on. And I think coming off of 8 years of economic stagnation, and again, like we mentioned before, the current underemployment and unemployment rates of millennials is just incredibly high. And I think that was a message that Republicans could have responded to very well with a candidate that would have done very well against Hillary Clinton.
But the core support, if we are to believe it, is still there with Donald Trump, whether he gets that kind of new support. Briefly, Hillary Clinton, there's a problem here in appealing to people and also appealing in terms of trustworthiness.
Right, that is true. There has been an issue there, and I think even with some of millennials, my generation, feeling the same way, that like Bernie Sanders and are having a tough time supporting Clinton. But I urge all millennials to support Clinton because I do think she's the most prepared for the job, and she's been the most presidential despite her low numbers in the trustworthiness category. She's been much more, her decorum is higher, much more regal in her presentation.
Thank you very much, Kevin Chavez and Hunter
Thank you.
Estes. Thank you very much indeed for talking about that. So that's the first of our debates here before the presidential campaign, focusing on education. There'll be many, many other subjects in the next 3.5 weeks.
All right, we'd like to thank our Yola Abdavid and his two guests, Kevin and Hunter, for the first of our first episode of The Supporters. Do stay tuned to TRT World in the coming weeks as we continue our mini debate series.